Okay, our next delegation is Kimber Beat with regards to Bill C-23, the Fair Elections Act. And I'm going to go see if that other lady's here, right? She might have been paid. I don't think anybody.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me come in front of you and speak. All right. So, Mayor and Council and Administration, I'm here as a citizen who's concerned for our election process remaining democratic. I have concerns about Election Bill C-23, and I believe it needs to be looked at and discussed a lot further. The so-called Fair Elections Act does exactly the opposite of what the title suggests. A few of my concerns are that this bill will undermine the fairness of the elections by restricting Elections Canada and its ability to investigate irregularities. Will it decrease participation in our democracy by forbidding Elections Canada from conducting initiatives to promote voting? Further, it will entrench partisan influence on elections at a local level by giving the MPs the ability to appoint election officials. A little story on that is our returning officer for many, many years now, with the assistance of her HR people, Helen and Bonnie, have been very, they've hired people to be CPRs, Central Poll Supervisors. These are the individuals that oversee like the integrity of the whole election process, the whole voting process in the large polling stations where there's anywhere more than 3 polls. They'll have a Central Poll Supervisor that oversees all the DROs and clerks in the facility. Mrs. Woltz I know personally from in the 90s when she asked my mother to give her, my mother was a retired school teacher of 35 years, asked her to give her names of a bunch of retired teachers. She went to them and a whole bunch of other people in the community that worked well with people and knew the area well, and she hired them all completely nonpartisan to oversee the events in the polling stations. This role will be now taken away from our returning officer and assigned to the MP, who will appoint someone to oversee the integrity of all the polling stations. C-23 will allow parties to spend money on fundraising that they won't have to account for as a campaign expense. This will further solidify the influence of money in our elections. If any of you just simply want to search, you're going to see the political party that has the wealthiest backers. This little loophole will give parties will allow money to influence the outcome of our elections. The vouching issue, I just have a few quotes that I that I wanted to throw out there. The Chief Electoral Officer, Mark Moran, says he fears some Canadians could be denied their right to vote if government goes ahead with its proposed changes to the Canadian Elections Act. Former BC Chief Elections Officer Harry Neufeld says there's no evidence whatsoever that any voters fraudulently represented themselves in the vouching process. And then finally, Canada's former Chief Electoral Officer, John Pierre Kingsley says this: this will directly affect the constitutional right to vote of a number of Canadians without justification. Please, please do not get rid of vouching. So there's not one single electoral or constitutional expert in this country that supports this piece of legislation. No opposition party supports this bill. It's fundamentally undemocratic for a single party to be able to change the rules of our election. Originally, my intent was to come before you today and just request that a letter be sent to Mr. Watson and Mr. Harper, just stating concerns about the unfairness of this bill and to slow down the process at which it's being sped through. This is already seen its second reading and very near to its third. However, after reading this report, I have much larger requests for council. This report was cut and paste from a government release on the Government Canada website. It offers no analysis. The current government is the source of this report. It stands to benefit hugely in the 2015 election by these changes. There are numerous academics, constitutional experts, oppositional parliamentarians, current and former electoral officers, all standing united against the suppression of voters in Canada. So my request, council, is just that you investigate beyond this report and to make an informed decision on this matter, and then consider maybe forwarding those letters after some discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have questions? Councillor Bondi?
I see that Bobby Bayless is sitting there along with Kim, and I'd like to make a motion to see if Bobby would like to speak for a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes on this issue if she wants to. So I would make a motion that we allow Bobby Bayless to address council.
Supported by Councillor Scott. And any questions to the motion? All in favor of that motion? Motion carried.
I need a crash course in electronics to fix that one. I just wanted to throw out a couple of things. We all know that there were problems in past elections that were supposed to be addressed in this, or we thought were going to be addressed in this legislation. They were financial in nature, spending too much on election. There were difficulty in getting campaign officials to testify. There was the robocall scandal. We all know these stories. We don't need to go into them. But when you looked at what they came up with to solve these problems, it didn't seem to match. I really like what Sheila Fraser had to say. Bill C-23, if allowed to pass without significant amendments, would constitute an attack on Canada's democracy. Sheila Fraser, mind you, is not known to be partisan. So this is a nonpartisan voice. Among other things, the proposed legislation would disenfranchise thousands of voters, undercut the independence of the chief electoral watchdog, impede investigations into wrongdoing, give a financial advantage to rich established parties, and undermine Canadians' faith in the electoral system. As we know, our biggest problem is people not voting. We do not have a major problem with people voting illegally. So you would think that any legislation should be directed to finding ways to help people feel inspired to vote. So therefore, I think this is terribly wrong-headed legislation, and we need to revisit it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the delegation? Councillor Baker?
Well, first of all, I move receipt of the report that the administration has provided for us tonight.
Okay, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries. Councillor Baker? Any further questions? No.
I think there's somebody ahead. I'll wait.
I haven't seen anyone's hand yet. Is there one? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, through your worship. So I'm going to ask the delegates tonight, what is it that you are requesting this council to do on, again, another federal issue?
First off, to look at this bill, because it may be a federal bill, but it affects all the people in this municipality. And then hopefully discuss it and forward some letters to Mr. Harper and to Mr. Watson as to your findings. I think if you really open it up, and I say go beyond the report that was, submitted by the government, everything I've been finding has been scaring the pants off me. And I'm just hoping you would look into this, and that's my request.
Thank you. So we've received a report from administration. Then it's been suggested that that information is not enough, but we haven't been presented anything by the delegation to use further information. So are you asking us to go back again and pull up all kinds of different information? Because I've done the research on this, and there is copious quantities of information, a lot of media-driven, I see that, on this. So where do you want us to go as council when we've been presented with a report, received it by administration? There's been suggestions that the information is, I guess, pretty opaque in terms of your opinion, but yet we're not being provided any additional information that would support an opposite argument, so other than your verbal submissions. So what should be done at this point in time, I guess? My question to you.
Well, I guess I would suggest that the actual bill be read more carefully, because there's a lot of information in that bill that is not in that report. The report covers a number of points that actually most of us would agree with, but unfortunately it leaves out a lot of the other material that is really the part that most of us are worried about, other than the vouching. The vouching is clearly in the report. The not allowing of vouching is in the report, and that is something that certainly we have a great deal of concern with. But because it cuts down on legitimate voters' ability to vote. But there are other things in there that we didn't go into here because of the time limitation, but I think there's a lot more detail in that bill that is, as you say, scary.
So having said that, then it would appear that this council doesn't have enough information at hand, or I've read the information, I've done some research, but there is all kinds of... So maybe we need to just go back and on our own look at this, and I'm not sure even at this point in time if this is something that council should be doing at this point in time. And may I ask you, do you know, and if you don't, I'll ask administration, is this still at committee level, or is this in what first or second reading? What reading is this in?
Second is passed. It's going to third very shortly, probably be passed and sent to the Senate by summer.
And the Senate has some comments on this. They have already. And there has been some, I understand there's been some modification of the current, there's discussions in terms of modification. The minister in charge has been making some changes. So should we not wait to see what's happening on this? What is it that you want us to do again? I need to know at this point in time. We don't have enough information to go on, so where do we go at this point?
That's what I came here to find out. Is there anything that council can do to, like I say, I don't know of anything other than doing a little bit more homework and then maybe forwarding some letters. Is there something that can put the brakes on this bill that is being forced through by one single party and opposed to by all the others and so many other Canadians? I don't know, or else I wouldn't be here asking. Is there a venue you can take? Is there something that can be done?
It would appear that you're looking for some form of a letter of support, obviously, for this, then I will ask then through administration, obviously, in order to do any of this, I'm not, I mean, the report I've received tonight, I read it, and I've done some other research, and based on that, I clearly understand where they're going. There's other information I'm hearing out there. Does administration have time to be going through all this, if I can ask you, Russ, to dealing with this issue? I know we have a lot of priorities. I don't know, does this become one of them for us?
Through you, Your Worship, administration was asked at the last meeting of council to come back with a report. This was discussed by council, and administration, the clerk, took it upon herself to come up with a view. We respect that it is only the one view. It came from the federal government resources, so we expected it to be the gospel, so to speak. We chose not to get into research in terms of looking at what else is out there. Most of our information would have come from the media, and at this point in time, without us being able to get into the details, of which I don't believe we have that time to do that. So at this point in time, I think what you have in front of you is as much as administration really can provide to you. Most of what you're going to have to do as individuals, I think, is to weigh that, your own personal perspectives on that, and determine what the community expects of the council.
Thank you. So we have already passed a motion to receive the report, which we have, so I'll just sit back and listen to what council has to say.
Thank you, sir. I have Councillor Volkson and Councillor Bundy.
I'm going to talk if I could, because I got something that will hinge off of Councillor Bondi, if the chair will allow that.
Would you like, sir? I didn't understand. Oh, okay. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you. I guess my number one question is, since when is democracy not a priority? And I've done a lot of research on this bill as well. And I mean, you kind of have to be, I don't know what to say, but you kind of have to be an ostrich with your head in the sand to not hear the concerns of the Canadian people over this bill. Yes, absolutely, it's a federal issue. Can I duplicate it at a municipal level? Absolutely. The last election, I went and I found people in Harrow who were not registered, and I helped get them registered. I found people who were low income, renting places, people that were more transient than others, and I got them to vote. And I'm here today. So I've seen the proof in the pudding that, we need to encourage people to vote. For the love of democracy, I believe we have to do something. And, as a municipal councillor, here I go again, preaching on my soapbox saying that we have to do something. I don't know what that something looks like. I can certainly send information. I can certainly come back with a motion at the next council meeting, a Sherry Bondi motion on the Fair Elections Act, and we can all sit and squawk here about whether we support it or not. But, my gosh, we want people to vote. We want to make it accessible. And I'm not sure what the rest of council thinks, but I think we need to absolutely do something. We have letters to the editor from our residents here saying that they have an issue with it. So it's not just Kim Verbeek and Bobby Bayless saying there's a problem here. There's a lot of other people. A lot of times when a bill comes up, it takes the general public a while to see what's actually happened. And so it's catching on right now. It's catching on. It's building momentum. And, people everywhere are saying, wow, what's happening? And so it took a couple brave souls to sit up here and challenge our council and say, Council of the town of Essex, how come you aren't doing something for democracy? How come you aren't standing up for our right to vote? And that's what they're doing here, and that's what I'm doing here. And I encourage each councillor to do the same. I can bring a motion up. I don't know, I was hoping it would come more from administration. A little story. If I was to open up an abortion clinic in downtown Essex right now, would I just talk to the pro-lifers? Or would I talk to the pro-choicers? Or would I talk to both? I think I should talk to both. If you're going to put something in, you have to look at both sides. And I know administration's busy. I certainly have no problem taking this on, though. Certainly. If that's the challenge of council, I certainly have no problem. I believe in democracy.
Thank you. Councillor Volkson, just before I give you the microphone, our clerk has a statement to make.
Thank you, through your worship. I just want to state to council and everyone present that I was directed by council to do an impartial report. There are no opinions in this report. That's why it is written the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Volkson.
Thank you. As far as the report from administration goes, I think it's very clear. It's a report that obviously gives you direction. If you get the opportunity to read it, it's there. If you get the chance to do that. And I briefly went over it. So Cheryl, thank you for that. People can be critical, and if they want to be critical, that's fine. I don't think, and I want to speak for myself, is I was gone away last week with my wife, and I just come back, and I didn't have the opportunity really to read this, really to look at the pros and cons and exactly where it is. And I don't want to, when we went into the postal discussions earlier, I knew exactly where I stood with it. I done my homework, I dotted the I's and I crossed the T's. I knew where I was with it. This particular file, I don't know exactly where it is. I don't want to make a decision that is not responsible, not diligent. At this point, I support it because I understand it has an adverse effect on those disenfranchised. I want to understand, though, why I'm not supporting it much clearer than others to say it doesn't support the disenfranchised. I owe that to my community to do that. So I'm asking that we afford opportunity to table it. We have our report from administration that gives some clear language and direction on it. We've heard your presentation tonight, and now we have to make independent decisions. But I believe, it's only in my views, in my opinion, there's some discussions that need to be had yet before that decision is diligently made. So I'm going to ask council that we table this until we can afford opportunity at the next council meeting to make a collective, diligent decision on your personal position as a councillor. I don't want to make a decision that is just passive and reactive. I truly don't.
Point of order, we have nothing to table. We've received a report, it's received and voted on, it's received. So we don't have anything to table at this point.
I'm asking that we don't even receive the report. We table it.
It's been received already, Councillor Vokes.
Okay.
But you could make a recommendation or a motion.
Well, then, guess
you
what? Look,
said.
I don't want to play words. I don't want to play processes. I'm just asking council comes back next council meeting with a more clear understanding of each of their positions. And I'll just add it to council discussions that we decide on this bill, what we're going to do. Right? So, it's fine. It's a shame we just can't agree to do that. We got to kind of twist and
Well,
manipulate.
excuse me, there are rules for all of us. Now, Councillor Vokes, you were on the right track when you said you wanted to table it and have administration come back to us. It's already been accepted, so we can't table it, but administration can come back to us.
I don't want administration to come back.
Okay. Okay, so what would you like to do here?
I'm just going to put a motion, I'm going to put a notice of motion right now that we discuss it at the next council meeting through council discussions.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Unfinished business.
Yep.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Councillor Vokes. I think that's very fair. Each of us sitting up here in this chair has 2 weeks to do our research on this issue. We come back and we discuss it and we see if a letter or a direction as council as a whole is suffice.
You did second that, didn't you, Sherry?
So this is just a notice of motion, we have no discussion on it, is that correct? Or can we make a comment to it? No? Yes? No? Okay.
Yep. Good. Councillor Bowman?
Actually, can I ask administration through you?
Yes, sir.
Your worship. So in a notice of motion, it's just telling us that we're going to get the same thing back next time. We're going to get a motion to discuss this, which is, we've already asked administration to present a report, which they've done. We've heard a delegation. We've received the report. So we're asking to come back, a notice of motion, to talk about the same thing? Or are we supposed to do homework? What's the point? What?
Yes, Cheryl.
Through your worship, this wouldn't be a notice of motion. Councillor Vokes has asked that Bill C-23 be discussed under unfinished business at our next regular meeting, seconded by Councillor Bondi. So this is not a notice of motion. This is a resolution of council that this will come back under unfinished business at the next meeting.
So that means we have to vote on it and discuss it and vote on it. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. So at the appropriate time, I'll have a comment.
Councillor Bowman.
I think one of the issues here that this is going through Parliament fairly quickly. I'm not sure we'll have time to form an opinion and put it back. I think the real issue is there are a lot of questions coming up on this issue, and it's moving through quite quickly. I'd rather see us send a letter asking that the federal government postpone implementation of the bill C-23 and allow for more input from various groups and individuals with regard to its implementation and how it affects the country as a whole. I think that letter could be sent quickly, and it would get to the appropriate time, and if they choose to ignore it, so be it, but at least we've sent something requesting that they look into it further, because obviously we can look at the bill as much as we want and not sure exactly how it's going to turn out in the end, but at least then we're asking them to take another look and allow for more discussion, and that's really where bills get massaged and come back as a bill that most people can accept. And if that was appropriate, I'd make that a motion, but okay.
Councillor Baker.
On the motion that's on the table right now, I like what I hear in the approach. I can't support this motion because I don't want to come back and rehash this, but I certainly can support a letter that says, federal government, people want to be heard, so I can understand that. That is democracy, by the way, and that doesn't take away from our taxpayers' dollars spending time on this. A letter, I can see that. So it's not taking away from democracy, it's adding to democracy, and we're not spending taxpayers' dollars on doing something over and over again. So I can support, I won't support this motion, but if that comes up, I will support that.
Deputy Mayor Malash.
If I could, Your Worship, I don't look at it. I'll table my motion. I'm looking for, or withdraw my motion. I'm just looking for an opportunity for all us to get right. Morley, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Okay, the seconder agree to remove the motion? Sherry? Okay. Okay. It's withdrawn. Deputy Mayor Malash, and then I'll come back to you, Marley.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I too agree with what Morley's saying here. I think it's more of a timely issue, and from the research that I've already done, I would have to say that I don't agree with everything that's in this Bill C-23. I believe that there's some good parts to it, but the few parts that they are removing, for instance, the vouching, I think is an important aspect of our voting process, and I wouldn't be in favor of this bill moving forward until they have a relook at that. But I do think they need to have some more public consulting before they move on. Thanks.
Councillor Bowman. Oh, we haven't got your motion.
I move that we send a letter to the federal government and the various party leaders and our local MP asking the federal government to postpone the implementation or passage, whichever comes first, of Bill C-23 and allow for further input from the various groups and individuals to make it a bill that will withstand the the concerns or issues of our country and make for a bill that everybody can be proud of.
Councillor Bondi supports. Any questions? Councillor Bondi.
I'd just like to thank you, Councillor Bowman. You did a great job.
Anything further to the motion? All in favor of the motion? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Now we're at number 7, unfinished business, Town of Aurora, introduction of municipal recall election legislation. Councilor Bowman?
I'd move that we note and file it because I don't think it's a good position for our council to take.
Okay, seconded by Sherry Bondi. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. From Administration, Planning Department Report Number 2014-11, Natural Heritage Conservation Easement. Councilor Scott?
Support the two recommendations on the report.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Moss, seconds. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. B, Planning Department Report Number 2014-14, Kimball Subdivision. Release of securities. Councilor Baker, supported by Councilor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Planning Department Report Number 2014-17, Harrow Community Improvement Plan, application for grant, 357 Queen Street, Harrow, Danielle's Restaurant. Councilor Baker, Councilor Bowman, or Scott? Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carried. D, Community Services Report Number 2014-010, appraisal former St. Mike's High School, 190 Talbot Street South. Councilor Baker?
I would move, number 1, move receipt of the report with an addition of a motion to request that we put St. Michael's on the market for sale with discussion with council.
Do we have a seconder? Councilor Bondi, supports? Questions? Councilor Bowman?
I'm trusting that is without the gymnasium.
I actually thank you for that. No, I would include the gymnasium as a market option because it does have some marketability for future use in if it goes on the market, depending on it. It just provides more flexibility of retrofitting in different uses.
Councilor Bowman?
I think that is part of our recreational program in that area, and that gymnasium is used on a regular basis. So if we don't have that, it'll affect some of our programming down there. So I would think that would be one area we'd want to keep because it's part of the I guess the usage that we're using now. And so if that's included, I won't support it.
Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Vokes?
So the selling of the property, what does that, I know it's in the report, what does that do for the OPP station and the library?
Mr. Sweet?
Through you, your worship, the appraisal is just for the north part of the building, which was used by St. Mike's. So the Essex Community Center and the Essex County Library are not part of that.
Okay, thanks, Doug. I just wanted to make sure that the one roof line didn't detail the whole facility. So that's separate entities that we still...
Through your worship, the only exception is the gymnasium.
Yeah.
That was in and without it. So it's the old St. Mike's with the gymnasium, St. Mike's without the gymnasium.
Okay.
Councillor Baker?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Just to speak to the motion, I suppose it could be looked at as an optional part of the sale, depending who comes forward with this. Keeping in mind that gym portion, I know that there's some programming there now, but there is proposals on the table or coming forward looking at some possible retrofitting of the Memorial Arena for different types of programs that would maybe suffice should it go through. I think we need to look at opportunities that provide additional tax revenues to our base, which we do need, provide additional opportunities to enhance the BIA downtown core, if whatever that should be, but let's suggest maybe just for idea's sake that somebody turns that into a hotel suite, and there's enough rooms that could be retrofitted in there, utilizing possibly that gymnasium as a banquet facility. That provides a lot of additional tax revenue, provides opportunity for that whole complex there as a sports tourism area, things of that nature. So I think it should be part, I'll keep it in as an option, because whoever the purchaser may be, may decide to or not to purchase that, could be an option. But I think providing the opportunity presents a lot of flexibility as what that could be down there, and I think that's our goal. If we're not using that facility right now, and there's other opportunities coming forward for some recreational and programming to look at that, I think we should keep it on the table as an option for purchase. There could be lots of opportunities. The market value that's being presented, I think it's fair for somebody who could spend some additional dollars in retrofitting, and that would enhance the downtown area, turn that whole area into potentially sport tourism with the twin pad. So for that reason, I'd like to see it in there still.
Anything further? Deputy Mayor Malash?
I'm in agreement with Councillor Bowman. I don't think that we should be putting the gym up on the block. It's part of our recreational programming right now in the community. Back in the day when we were looking at the plans for the arena complex, we excluded the gymnasium on the arena because of the fact that we did have a gymnasium just across the street. And I know that was looked at whether that was suitable or not, and we ended up axing that portion of the construction at the new sports complex because of the fact that we did have the gymnasium there. I think in the report it's pointed out that we gain about $17,000 a year in revenues from the gymnasium. I think the selling price was only an additional $50,000. It wasn't much more. It was about $50,000 extra to sell it with the gymnasium. I do understand Councillor Baker's position, but I'm going to suggest that we would try and sell the property without the gymnasium in my view. Thank you.
Councillor Baker?
So listening to the discussions, and I suppose, I certainly will amend the motion to take that out of there at this point in time, because I certainly want that to go on the market, because I think there's some opportunity for that building that would enhance the whole area and its tax revenue. So I'll take that off, I'll amend that motion to do that, because I suppose at some point in time, if there's somebody that does approach us, and if it's favorable, we could look at it at that point in time. And that's a good point. That'll give us time to look at what's coming forward on options for the Memorial Arena if there are things that happen. So I'll remove that so we can hopefully get this out to the market and see where we get some opportunity.
Okay, Gary? Anything further? I just have one question. Like, we're putting this up for sale. There are lots of properties around the town of Essex Center. Have we had people inquiring to purchase this property? As administration, do we have people looking at us? Is that why we're doing this? Or?
Through your worship, I'm not aware of any proposals coming forward, but as I directed the council during budget deliberations to look at an appraised value for the building.
Okay, so that being said, we want to throw it up because we got an appraise? Like, I don't know. Is that Morley or Bill? Councilor Baker? You wanna? Councilor Volks?
So, help me out, are we keeping the gym or aren't we? In the sale? We are. Okay, thank you.
Anything further to the motion? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Thank you. E, Community Services, Report Number 2014-009, Essex Memorial Arena Structural and Mechanical Review. Okay. Deputy Mayor Malash supports. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. F, Chief Administrative Officer's Office, Report Number 2014-05, Electrical Generation Costs. Okay. Councilor Baker, supported by Councilor Volks. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. G, Corporate Services Report Number Clerk 2014-002, Quarter Revision, McWaters Drain, Dunn Road Drain, and Murdoch Street Drainage System. We need 3 council members to sit on this. My recommendation, seeing as how it's been in the news lately about how much money we spend traveling and everything, that maybe us 3 members from Essex Center attend this meeting and there be no mileage. Oh, it's before the regular council meeting. Oh, okay. Don't have to worry about that. We just need 3 members. But that was a good idea, wasn't it? Cut down expenses. All right. Councilor Baker is 1. I can be there early.
I can't commit to that. I'm away that day.
Okay. That's 2. Councilor Baker, Mayor, and 1 more. Deputy Mayor Malash. Okay? Motion that those 3 sit on this board. Moved by Councilor Bondi, supported by Councilor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. H, Corporate Services Report Number 2014-11, County of Essex Council Chambers. Councilor Baker?
Move support of the recommendations, both.
Okay. Supported by Councilor Bondi. Any questions? Yes, Councilor Bondi.
I thought I read somewhere that one of our upcoming council meetings is back at Town Hall. Is that the May 5th? Okay, all right, so May 5th, we're back at Town Hall.
Good. Anything further? Councilor Volks? Well, you can ask for a recorded vote, or just vote against it. Yep. Yep. Okay. I can ask. Okay, if there's no other questions to the motion, I have one. In the report, it says indefinitely. If we feel after 10 months, Donna, that we would like to revisit this, I imagine we would, wouldn't we?
Yes, we would, Your Worship. Basically, in the report, it indefinitely means until other opportunities arise.
Thank you very much. Ready for the question? Councilor Volks. Cheryl?
Councillor Volks? Councillor Scott?
Support.
Counselor Bowman? Counselor Baker? Deputy Mayor Malash? Mayor McDermott? Counselor Bondi? With a recorded vote of 6 in favor, 1 opposed, motion is carried.